There you go. Prima Tarico there from the Inalahan Mayor's office. 737. Let's keep it in the KUAM News Zoom room where she's definitely getting her frequent link miles in. Procurement Chair Senator Sabina Perez. Well, every time I turn around, Senator, there's something with procurement. Unmute.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I guess that's, some of the laws, I guess, needs to be addressed, but the law by itself cannot ensure, I guess, procurement is done properly. I guess what we're, I did announce that I will hold an oversight hearing regarding the Hakapatan use of the building related to the recent OPA decision. So I just want to share with you that we did receive word that that decision would be appealed in the Superior Court, which will affect the oversight if GSA and the OPA cannot attend. So we might have to put a hold on that oversight.
That's kind of big news. Okay, so you were planning an oversight hearing. Let's just rewind a little bit. And I gave the Cliffs Notes this morning. Let me just give it again. So there's a company, SH Enterprises, that holds, I believe, it's either what so the big food service contracts guys with the government of Guam, like big money, millions of dollars, is feeding the prisoners, feeding the senior citizens. Right? These are two big contracts that companies are always trying to get, and when someone else wins, there's a protest. It's just the nature of it, right? The nature of Guam procurement. So this company had this contract, and then when we did the local war claims thing, this company also owns the old Hakubotan. God, just saying that takes me back to Hakubotan. But they own the old Hakubotan building, and they let the administration use it for free to process the war claims. I think it was like a 2-week period. And then a couple months later, they won another contract. And so the public auditor, and so a competing company had filed a protest, and they had brought this up and said, hey, you can't, that's like a gift or whatever. Chief procurement officer looked at it. I think she took a day, was like, no, it's not. It's a donation. It's totally fine. Public auditor, however, came out and said, yeah, that's a gift, and he made the decision to bar this company from bidding on government contracts, which they've now appealed, right? But before the appeal, the AG had come out and said, oh, no, public auditor, you got to stay in your lane because that's the chief procurement officer. And she said it was A-OK. So there's something going on here with, there's just something going on. I mean, it is what it is. But Senator, I mean, what do you think though? The use of that building, is this something that you think is like pretty black and white, or is it open for debate? Because I can see people, I wouldn't agree with them, but I could see people saying like, oh, well, yeah, God, they got a free building. That's good. Way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no one's questioning that there was an ethical violation. I think what's being questioned is whether, the OPA has jurisdiction to debar. I think that's pretty clear from looking at what the comments are, and that's what the appeal is going to be based on, is whether the OPA has jurisdiction. Right. So yeah, what it is, a favor according to statute is anything of more than de minimis value that is received for personal enjoyment, for the department, or for any person or club or organization associated with or sponsored thereby. And so it is, there's no question that it is a breach of ethical standards for any person or contractor to provide or, to offer this type of, I guess, donation, so to speak, especially if they are a prospective contractor, prospective bidder or offerer. Right. I think that's where the appeal was based upon is, they are both, bidders for the a big contract for the government.
Right.
And so in light of that, it is conceived as a favor to the territory. So this is what the OPA is, basically they have the power and the authority to to review any subject matter de novo, and that's a pretty big power because they can start afresh and look at all the facts from the start and see whether any appeal, any matter brought to them has merit. This is a bigger power than I think the superior courts have.
Wow.
In relation to overseeing procurement.
I like you. You keep receipts. So I like what you said, that there's no question that there's an ethical violation that took place. The question is whether or not the chief procurement officer, who's come down on one side saying that it's okay that they gave the building to be used for the war claims processing center, and that it was a donation and that the governor is free to accept donations. And then you have the public auditor who says, oh, hello, black and white of it is that's a gift and it's an ethical violation. Boy, if we had an ethics commission, that'd be pretty something to forward this. Are they accepting complaints yet?
I am not too sure. Yeah, I have to go back and look and see the process of this. But it seems like the way this is processed, it has to go through, first the agency, and then through the OPA, and then it goes up to the Superior Court. So I'm not too sure about the Ethics Commission in this one, but I would have to double check on their process.
Do you have any idea what prompted the AG to come out and kind of chime in on this? Was there like a request for an opinion that was issued, or?
It was basically an appeal. So any appeal. So for instance, in this case, the CPO denied the protest by
Basil.
By Basil Foods, right? Basil Foods. And in that case, Basil Foods then took it up the chain to the OPA. So it was within their administrative rights. It was within their rights to appeal to the next step up. And so this is what initiated the OPA's involvement in this. So it's part of the process.
Okay. Let's just speak to procurement. They generally, right? Like I said, it seems like we have you on so many times about procurement issues. And I know that you've definitely tried to do your part with oversight hearings and legislation. But what is it about our procurement process? I mean, it's one thing, right? The delays or whatever, and the argument about using emergency procurement. But I feel like for something like this to happen and the chief procurement officer to kind of stand by it, it's highly sus, as the kids say.
Yeah, so there is, I think as the OPA audit shows, or decision shows, there is some inconsistencies in the laws that needs to be addressed. There's one part where, as far as, overview of the debarment, there was it seemed like there was a misprint in the number in the statute. So instead of identifying the correct portion of the statute, it veered to a different portion. So that definitely needs to be fixed. But also in general, there is a bill that I was working on last term that I haven't introduced yet. And it would basically change it would look at the legal and contractual remedies. So this is an area, this is one part of that could be looked at and addressed. So there is mention in the decision that there was, I guess there was a question as to whether the legislature provided the authority for OPA. And so those clarifications need to be made. And the bill that I was working on last term, which really was started on in previous terms by former Senator Atta, that I think it's maybe the time is right to look at that draft and reintroduce that bill. So there are issues with, I guess one of the issues was whether the policy office has any oversight of debarment and the OPA. So that needs to be addressed. I guess as they take it up in the Superior Court, that would be argued in court as to who has the jurisdiction. But again, also the laws can be strengthened as well.
Senator, I wanted to ask you, as the oversight of rev and tax, there was a bill that was introduced and eventually signed into law, and this is relative to allowing a private company to collect on delinquent, I want to say it's cigarette tax stamp taxes or something. Um, has that been implemented? I know that I feel like I want to say the director had some issues with it. There were a lot of issues with it. First of all, anytime you're getting a private company to start collecting on taxes, I mean, it's nuts for a profit. I mean, and the director during the hearing on this, and I want to say it was even the deputy had come out and said that this was something that Rev and Tax was totally capable of performing on their own. And so to me, outside looking in, it looked like a gift law to, whoever has got this contract. But what's the issue there, Senator? Because have the courts gotten involved with this yet?
Yes, so I believe there was the Westco brought it to court, and Judge Gutierrez basically wrote a writ requiring that I guess Department of Revenue Taxation comply with that law that was passed. And I think they have some time. I think May 18th is a date where they have to provide an alternate writ. So yeah, we're waiting on that. In the meantime, I have introduced a bill that would basically promote or allow that to be done, the cigarette stamp tax to be implemented in-house at a much more reasonable, feasible amount. As you remember, if you recall, it was upwards, I think, in the original law that was, or the bill that was introduced that eventually passed, it would allow, I believe, this private entity to implement cigarette stamps to receive up to $12 million. And it was at that public hearing for that bill, it was mentioned by the former deputy director, Michelle Santos, that it was estimated if we were to do it in-house, it would be about $300,000.
Yeah.
And
Which is why I said it's a gift law. I mean, we do it ourselves. It's 300,000. You get Mary Torres' family involved. It's what, 12 million or something crazy like that. It's nuts. Totally nuts.
Yeah, I think definitely if we can do it, if we can reform government, we can definitely lower the cost to implementing something like this. And of course, there were issues brought up about whether to hire a third party to implement taxation laws as well as to create rules and regulations. So I think there's definitely issues with that. So, with my bill that we'll receive a public hearing on this Thursday, my hope is that this bill receives favorable support from my colleagues to ensure that we are collecting taxes on cigarettes properly, and we'll keep it within Department of Revenue and Taxation. It's I think it's the better way to go, policy wise and as well as financially. It's more fiscally responsible, I feel.
What's that saying? What's it saying? There's a saying, jumping over dollars to get to pennies or something. Is that what it is? Well, if that's not a saying, I'm inventing it now, because that's exactly what's happening with this. We're jumping over dollars we could be getting by collecting all these taxes to get pennies, and meanwhile, Mary Torres' family is going to get the dollars. So it's crazy.
I'm filing that for you right now, my friend.
Trademark.
With the U.S. Copyright Office.
Okay, thank you.
Jumping over dollars to get to pennies.
Right on.
Done.
Can you use that?
But I think what's important to remember is that this money is going to the Healthy Futures Fund,
right.
Which is going to fund a lot of these important services, especially during this, during this time. It's going towards Department of Public Health, Cancer Trust Fund.
Right. Yeah. No one's saying don't collect the taxes, Senator. No one's saying that. We're just saying like I mean, you put it out at Rev and Tax and do the same thing for $300,000, and we're going to pay this private company $12 million. It's nuts, dude. What are you guys thinking?
Right, and I think too, just to be fair, they did change the wording on that to be anything that's in excess of the annual collection that would, I believe, go towards the third party. So there was I guess, an amendment that was made to reduce that amount. But I think even at that how do you implement something like that? So, for instance, if the Healthy Futures Fund goes, the collections go down, does that mean that company receives nothing because there is nothing in excess? And so how does that really play out when it comes to, other laws, contract laws? So there's, other questions remain, whether, it's inorganic, whether it's, not compliant to other types of laws. So, I mean, there's many issues with that bill.
That law, right?
That law, sorry.
That law. Because they got it in the law. It's the law now. Let's just close out, Senator, with the resolution. I know you guys are able to vote on that and get it passed. Thoughts?
Yes, I believe, first of all, I want to thank my colleagues for their support. And I want to thank the community that really came out in favor of it. And I think it's, it's really an issue about our human rights to access to safe, clean drinking water. And, like I said, it's the project that's a contention is the firing range, which is has been stated by Department of Defense to expend 6.7 million bullets or rounds annually containing lead and other contaminants. And really, when we're looking at prevention, I think prevention is much better than trying to clean up a toxic site many years later. Facing a current Supreme Court decision, we're waiting on the decision whether that the court would decide that the Department of Defense, U.S. government is going to help pay for the cleanup. Why wait till then? Why? I think the best course of action is preventing any kind of damage. And we're talking about lead and other contaminants. Lead was banned since 1986 in the U.S. and 1999 here on Guam. And since it was banned, why are we allowing something like this to occur? Contamination of our water resource. It doesn't make sense to me. And if we can prevent that harm from happening, it's better for the health of our people. It's better for our environment. And so that's, I just want to thank everybody who supported this. And it has been a long road, so it's not easy. It's not easy to speak out for something like this, but I'm very grateful for those that did.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris.
All right. I want to say, I don't know when we'll see you again, but I feel like there's going to be something else to pop up with procurement. Probably
with the environment.
Maybe it was either one, right? So she's oversight of rev and tax, labor, the environment, and procurement. Is that everything?
And Bureau of Statistics and Plans. But
BSP,
yeah,
right? Yeah, that's a lot. Well, thank you, Senator, for coming on. Appreciate it all the time.
Thank you.
Esther, there you go. Hey, I was able to get some messages from our friend on the Physicians Advisory Group. Our friend, Dr. Hoa Wen. He's the chairman.
I don't think I've ever used that since we were doing slang books.
That's like he's our Fwen, Fwen.
Oh, God.
We're Fwens with a Z. And this is relative to the UK variant. Remember, we talked about this at length this morning. We'll talk about it with Chima Mbakwem, who's the Chief Public Health Officer, coming up at 9.